Hello, everybody. Welcome today to our live stream with Glock. Glock, that's the way to start. Groq, right? How we start with the correct name of it, but with Groq, Langchain, and Langflow. And, we see a bunch of people are already in. We already have 105 folks. That's awesome. We'll give a couple minutes, let everybody just kind of settle in. Hello, hello. Hi, Misbah. Hi, Hatice. Hi, Lance.
Hello, David.
Hey, David.
Hey,
Let's see. While we're waiting just a couple minutes, let's see. Oh, thank you, Haas. I say we're all here because you guys are awesome. That's a great way to start it, right? I like this. Hello, excited to use and learn how to use Langflow. Nice to be here. Where's everybody from? Like, we can see you in the chat. Go ahead and let us know where you're coming from. I'll start. I'm in Orlando, Florida, right? Which is way southeast in the United States, if you're not familiar. Oh, I see Palo Alto, Oakland. Oh, from Brazil, Berlin, Geneva, India. This is awesome. Already Greece, like Turkey.
Shout out to Turkey.
Nice. Oh, wow. Bosnia, Herzegovina, Uganda, Toronto, Tunisia, Sao Paulo. This is amazing. I've done plenty of these live streams before. And, these days, I think it's pretty normal to get a pretty global, group. But this is, I think, one of the most varied groups I've ever seen from all the different areas. It's super cool.
Wow.
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for that. All right. I think we can just get going. So here, let's just, quickly look at the overarching theme, right? So like I mentioned earlier, today we're going to focus on 3 parts of an LLM stack or an LLM application stack, right? Again, Groq, Langchain, and Langflow. So Groq provides some of the fastest inference models out there. Hatice is going to tell us more about that. Langchain, if you're not familiar with them, they're probably honestly one of the top libraries to build, Gen AI apps today. And they also provide Groq integrations, and they make it totally easy for LLM application developers like us in Python and JavaScript to call the Groq API. And then Langflow makes it super easy to build Groq-based LLM apps using a drag and drop approach. It's a no-code kind of UI approach, and that's also built on top of Python and Langchain. So all these come together, all these 3 things, they come together to provide a really neat stack that you can use to accelerate your application development. Okay, so before we get into some of the core stuff, just a couple housekeeping items. I'm going to share my screen here. I see a thing. Am I the only one with a black screen, or is fetching stream for everyone? Yeah, that's a great question, actually. Do me a favor. Can everyone give a thumbs up? Let us know if you're seeing the stream okay. I see a couple says still waiting. I wonder if that's just how Crowdcast, I know, does take a moment sometimes. I think it'll catch up for those folks. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so what I'm going to do here real quick is just a quick housekeeping item. So while we are going to have some content and we're going to be sharing some things, we're looking for this to be more interactive. We're going to have some things for you to do. So you can see on the very right-hand side over here, the messages that all of you are interacting with now. But if you notice, you'll see that there are both the Q&A section. So if you've got questions during the session, the best thing to do, put it in the Q&A. Then everybody else can vote on those. They'll bubble up, and we can manage answering the questions as effectively as possible. We'll also have a couple polls today, so we will show those when it comes time. But just so you know, you come over here to the right-hand side to interact with both those things. Alrighty, and with that, I will pass it over to Hatice to go ahead and give us the skinny on Groq.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here and to see so many of you from all over the world. My name is Hatice Ozen, and I am a senior customer applications engineer here at Groq. A little bit about me. I've been at Groq for about 2.5 years now, and I wear many different hats here, but through the ever-changing hats, one constant is my focus on developers, and developers. Devs just know best, and I'm always looking to enhance the Groq developer experience with my team and just being the developer advocate to our internal engineering teams as well. I am also in charge of our quickly growing developer community on Discord, and we'd love for you to join us there for continued discussions after this awesome event. With that, let's dive into it, starting with the big question, what the heck is Groq? So for those of you who may not have heard of us yet, or if you've heard and you don't know too much, Groq, simply put, is fast inference. So Groq was founded in 2016 by Jonathan Ross, who's the creator of Google's tensor processor unit. And we are headquartered in Silicon Valley, but we have Groqsters all across the world right now. We are an AI infrastructure startup that builds the world's fastest AI inference technology, known as the LPU inference engine. The LPU inference engine, LPU standing for language processing unit, is a hardware and software platform transforming the pace, predictability, and performance, especially performance, as we will see shortly, of AI applications. Our LPU inference engine is responsible for the world record-breaking large language model inference speeds that you may have seen in the lead on independent benchmarks, such as those done by artificial analysis. And this insane performance is all thanks to the architecture of the Groq LPU that is very well suited for computationally intensive applications with sequential components, such as the LLMs that we know, that we're getting to know, and should I say that we love so much today. And I won't just tell you, I'll show you. We were just talking about the developer experience and how important we think it is here at Groq. Today, I want to introduce how to get started with LLMs hosted on Groq through our chat UI and through our Groq Cloud Developer Playground using Groq API. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And you are more than welcome to follow along with me. Okay, so hopefully everyone should be seeing that. But the first link that I want to go through is groq.com. So this is our UI for our Groq chat. And here, if you're following along with me, let's sign in to be able to query and try out our fast inference speed for yourself. You can create a free account, or you can log in if you already do have an account. And since I am a Groqster, I do already have an account. So I will go ahead and log in. And once you are signed in, you'll see at the top right, there appears a list of the LLMs that we are currently hosting on Groq Cloud. So right now we have Gemma 7B. We have the Meta Llama 3 models available, both the 7D billion parameter and 8B. And we have Mistral AI's Mixtral 8x7B. So we talked about inference speed. I will go ahead and just very quickly show you what I was talking about. And we can do Aren't Groq, Langchain, and Langflow. So exciting. And there we have it, folks. We have more than 1,200 tokens per second. That is instant response. And I just want to take a moment for this audience in particular. I know there are a lot of developers out there globally. Just think of the speed beyond just a simple query, what this can unlock for AI applications in real time. One example that comes to mind immediately is, of course, chatbots having a near human-like experience with high inference speed and low latency is very, very important. So with that, this is just simply our groq.com, which has admittedly replaced my regular search engine in my day-to-day, where I'll just come and ask groq.com my questions. We can cut over to console.groq.com. So if you're following along, console.groq.com, once you get on the landing page, you will be once again prompted to create an account for free or log in if you already have one. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and log in with Google. And then we arrive to our developer playground. So this is a little bit more interesting. Here, as a developer, you have access to more granular features. We have our very important system prompts. We have to the right, again, the list of the models, including parameters that you can adjust to your liking for your AI applications, such as temperature, max tokens. You can enable and disable stream mode, JSON mode for your applications, which is really exciting. And here, I'm just going to demonstrate, for example, the system prompt. Helpful assistant that always answers in very upbeat and fun tone. And then real quickly, what is Groq in 3 sentences? Oh boy, let the LLM tell you all about Groq. But with that, I just want to demonstrate, if you're experimenting and you're testing around on the playground and you happen to like your system prompt and the settings that you have, you can very easily just go to this view code button and get the chat completion code. Copy that to your clipboard in language of your choice and just simply put it right into your AI application. So here, we don't have too much time together, so I just want to highlight a couple things. One, we went over creating a free account. 2, and the main thing that you really need, is generating a free API key. So this is really exciting, actually, for us at Groq, and hopefully for you developers as well. We launched Groq Cloud and Groq API a few months ago, and we have been in our free beta where we are, just seeing hundreds and hundreds of applications from our now 250,000 global developer community, just creating apps, tutorials, videos, all thanks to the free beta that we have and the API key that you can generate very simply. And with that, if you're thinking, okay, I've experimented on the playground, I like what I'm seeing with inference speeds, we have the comprehensive documentation and quick start available for you here. And I do want to give a shout out to, again, developer experience and just things that are created by devs for devs. If you have existing applications, maybe you're using OpenAI's Open API, right? All you really need is the base path that we provide, switch out for a Groq API key, choose a Groq API model, and you're good to go for switching out the backend for running on Groq. So we are trying to make this as simple as possible for everybody, as we're mostly OpenAI compatible. And just a couple highlights here that I want to give as well. We have the documentation available here, but for those of you who may be beginners all the way to advanced developers that are maybe, starting with students, dipping your toes into the world of LLMs and all of these technologies that we have available, we have what we call our Groq API cookbook that I will show here on GitHub, where we have from our internal engineers and external developers, just from our developer community, contributing these very comprehensive guides where you can learn everything from function calling to how to implement a retrieval augmented generation workflow using Groq. So just want to give a shout out to that. And with that, I think the final pointer that I want to give all of you, we will be hopefully answering almost all of your questions during the session that we have together. But in case we can't, we also have our Discord developer community that I mentioned. At the click of a button, you can join and talk to me and my team there. Or you can talk to our team via this live chat feature that's also available on the Groq Cloud developer playground. And just to quickly recap with the simple steps that we went over Groq.com and the chat UI that we have. We went over our Groq Cloud developer playground and all of the resources that you can use to get started. And we went over how you can just very simply today, right now, generate a free API key to get started with building on Groq. And I'm super excited about the following sessions as well, where Misbah and Lance will show you how to do that using other technologies. So really excited to see what you can build. With that, David, that is all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Hatice. So the way, I think we have a couple minutes here left, which we can address some of the Q&A questions. And there was one, it totally related to what you were talking about here, from Chris Collins, this is the top rated one. What is the time frame for Groq paid so we can get higher limits on the API?
And this is the top question from the developer community, actually. At the moment, I don't have a timeline, but stay tuned in our Discord developer community channel. I believe we are coming out with enterprise plans on July 1st. But for developers, Chris, anyone else on here, if you have applications that require higher rate limits, we have been partnering with developers like you in exchange for demos to put on our website for higher rate limits. So if you contact me, I will be happy to kind of discuss your use case, discuss your application, and do something for you, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you. And, we're going to switch to a poll real quick. I do want to point out, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little call out there that says check out and contribute to our Groq API cookbook. If you click that, that'll bring you to that content so you can go check it out. Now, before we move it over to Lance, we did want to ask everybody something. A poll here that if you go to the little poll on the right-hand side, you should see a poll that says, what kind of LLM apps are you building? So we'd love to get a feel real quick for what kind of LLM apps you're building. I see one. Oh, here we go. A couple of them coming in. Wonderful. Oh, look at all those RAG ones and a lot of AI agents. That's super cool, actually.
Nice.
I think everybody's built the chatbots now.
Right. And it's super useful.
I think all the chatbots that could have been built have been built. But honestly, I thought we thought about putting an option for RAGbot, because that, I think now having a lot of the chatbots that are augmented with RAG is actually super powerful. And I'm seeing that all over the place. But I think it's awesome to see a bunch of AI agents. Now, if you answered something else, and if you're willing, drop it in the messages. We want to know, like, what is it that you're building, if it's not one of these things. All right, awesome. That was a lot of great interaction. Excellent. All right, with that, thank you everybody for answering the poll. And now we will move it over to Lance to dig into Langchain. So
Great.
Go for it, Lance.
Yeah, I will go ahead and try to share my screen here. Yeah, so that was can you guys see my screen? I got a slideshow here. Cool. It's sharing now. Good. Yeah, so we've actually been big fans of Groq since kind of they launched. And I'll tell you a little story about what I've been working on with actually Groq and also Meta. So we've seen real high interest in tool calling with open source LLMs. And a few of you mentioned you're working with agents. And of course, tool calling is very central to building agents. So let me just first explain kind of what is tool calling. So if you have an LLM, you can actually bind external tools to it to give the LLM awareness that this tool exists. And this is one thing that's often kind of confusing about tool calling. It's not as if and this is also interchangeable with function calling. But the key point is this: it's not as if the LLM has some magic ability to call this function. Again, it's an LLM, it's string to string, but it has the ability to know this function exists and to return to you the payload needed for the function. So given an input question, you can bind a tool. This is with Langchain, you can use this little tool decorator, bind a tool to the LLM. And if the question is relevant to the tool, the LLM can then decide, okay, I should return the output necessary to call that tool. So it returns to you the name of the tool to call and the input of the tool based on the question. So that's like the general kind of flow of tool use. Now, what's cool is Groq has tool calling available with various open source models. And I was actually working with Meta on some recipes, and we were looking around. We needed tool calling with Llama 3. We saw that Groq had it available and actually had very good performance from our testing. So we've actually used Groq with tool calling and Llama 3 in a set of Langchain agent recipes that we've put out actually in Meta's Llama recipes repo. So Groq is very heavily featured here, really because it just works. And we found tool calling with Groq and Llama 3 was quite good. So in this case, this is all you need to do. This is in Langchain, of course. I'm importing chat Groq, and of course, I'll share these slides, and you can see the notebook down here. Just have to import Groq, define chat Groq, specify your model, and then you have a prompt. You plumb that to your model, your LLM here, and you bind the tools you define. So that's a general flow. I'll share the notebook below. But the main idea here is this is actually central to enabling agents. This is kind of the typical agent architecture that a lot of folks have been using with LangGraph. So this is a library that we have that basically allows you to lay out workflows or control flows. And the way this really works is actually pretty simple. All you do is you define basically what we call an assistant node. So that is your LLM with bound tools, and that's Groq in this particular case with Llama 3. That receives an input from the user, and then the output of the LLM is either a tool call or it's just a natural language response. If it's a tool call, we have what this tools conditions node that processes that information and routes it to what we call the tool node, which actually runs our tool. And so in this particular case, the input is like, what is magic function 3? That Groq in this case will return, okay, here's my input, here's the magic function, and the tool node will then process that, and it will return the result back to the LLM. LLM reasons about the result and returns a natural language response. So this is kind of like the canonical way you can lay out agents using Langchain, LangGraph, and in this case, Llama 3 with Groq with tool calling. So the notebook itself is here, and I will share this in the chat very shortly. I'll let you play with it and look at it. But basically, we show how to take Llama 3 and give it access to a whole bunch of different tools. So we use Replicate here. We give it access to web search. We give it access to text to image. We give it access to image to text. We give it access to text to speech, all through Replicate. And we can define that as a tool list. And here's the key thing. We define our assistant. We're just using Groq here. We define our assistant here. We bind the tools to our LLM. And then we lay it out as a graph, kind of like we show up here. That's our graph. And at the bottom, we show a bunch of examples of this working with many different tools. So anyway, that's like the big picture. It is really easy to get started with tool use and different open source LLMs using Groq. If they're willing to talk more about their implementation for tool calling, I'd be really curious. But of course, maybe that's proprietary. But I'm going to share this notebook right now. And maybe we can just kind of segue into any questions that folks have. And also move on maybe to the next one and then kind of come back. Maybe I will go ahead and let you guys continue, and I will share my slides as well right now.
Yeah, no worries. And while we do that, I think we can get to some of the other Q&A. I didn't see any specific Q&A questions come up for LangGraph or Langchain. But there are still some of the Groq ones. I think we just go down the list a little bit. There was some conversation in the messages, Lance. There might be, you might have some thoughts on some of those. But I'll go ahead and I'll just address some of the, or ask some of the Groq ones, and we can kind of get through this list here a little bit. So I have a Groq account, and this is from Enrique. I have a Groq account. Will using the chat client on my developer account take away from my free API credit?
No, so we're completely free right now. In the future, if we do implement credits, nothing is taking away from anything right now. So please play with Groq API, build on it to your heart's desire. The only call out we'll have is that there are rate limits due to the vast number of users.
All righty. Yeah, it makes sense. We did over here with our vector database and that kind of deal. We did very similar things, actually. It's like, go at it, but we have to control things somewhat to make it reasonable, right? Like, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. There is another one here. This is, please recommend tools. This is, I think, a little deeper one, maybe. Please recommend tools for comparing LLMs. I wanted to compare output latency, price, token bandwidth, so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to float one really quick, which is going to be funny, which Misbah is probably going to get into a little bit. But Langflow, it's an open source project. If you don't know about it already, you will a little bit here in a moment. It's a wonderful tool for that because it's model agnostic. It'll allow you to wire up multiple models all at once and test them out. As a matter of fact, I was actually just doing this myself yesterday. I've got a language app I'm building to translate any language in real time. Kind of like, you know, if you've ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they have the Babelfish. You just put it in, and you can understand any language. And funny enough, Hatice, as you were talking earlier about the Groq models and that kind of deal, I'm using those because I wanted to test and compare against OpenAI and against Mistral and against whatever. And then it ends up being a really nice tool that I can just wire them all up in parallel, and I can see what the outputs are. I can see the performance, things like that. But that's a really biased answer. Do any of you have any tools or anything that you might use to compare LLMs?
And we commented this as well, but the one I mentioned before that comes to mind is artificial analysis. They're independently benchmarking some of the output latency, price, token, bandwidth. So if you just do, I can provide the link actually in the chat, but if you search up artificial analysis, you should be able to see all of the comparisons that they've made between providers.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. And I think that more directly answers Sanjil's question there. So yes, please. Yes, please. Let's see. Now, I think this got answered in the chat. And this is definitely more of a Groq question. Maybe a stupid question. Does the speed hamper the quality of the output, or how does it affect it compared to standard LLM inference?
So the speed does not affect the quality of the output at all. We are simply taking these models and running them on our Groq LPUs, which just happen to be really good for LLMs. So no, there's no hindrance to quality, and there's nothing that we do to really affect the quality. If you're more interested in the quantization aspect, I also have a paper that I can link in the chat if you'd like to read about it.
You just came with all the material today.
Yeah. I prepared, and I would hope I would know these things being here like two and a half years. I was pondering on that. Startup world, it feels way more, but
nice. All right, awesome. Yeah, please do. That would be great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into the next poll. This one will be, have you deployed an LLM app to production? I am personally very interested in this. We kind of joke here that this is like the year of production AI, because I think since last year, right, we've all been figuring all this stuff out, right? And like doing lots of tinkering, working with all these models. How do I build these apps? But then taking it and actually pushing it in production and doing something real is a whole different kind of ball game. And so we're curious. And so far, yeah, we see some folks have. No, just playing around. There's a bunch. Honestly, it's a little more even across than I thought it was going to be. All right. Well, we'll give you all a minute to answer those, and in the meantime, I'm going to pass it over to Misbah, and Misbah is going to dive into Langflow. With it, have at it, Misbah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot, David. Yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, my name is Misbah. I've been working, and I think to start with, as Lance said, we are big fans of Groq, and also we are big fans of Langchain here at Langflow. So I work as a DevRel here at Langflow. I've been building content around how to use no-code tools and how to build LLM apps using no-code tools, and also with the code. So have some content how you can use Langchain, and with that started focusing more on both sides. I would say, as Hatice mentioned, on the developer side, but also on the no code developers, right? So on both sides of things, and it's been a fun journey. So what I'm gonna show is real quick how one could get started with Langflow. And from there, just want to showcase how you can drag and drop, bring in these different providers, especially how we can bring in Groq's module or node, and then call different models in there. And from there, we'll look at a couple of examples. So yeah, let me share my screen real quick. Okay, just a quick check if you're able to see the screen. Okay, awesome. All right, so Langflow. What is Langflow, right? For people who are just starting or first time learning about Langflow, Langflow is a tool that helps you drag and drop and build an LLM app completely no code if you like. But then also there is an option, it's built on top of Python Langchain, so you can pretty much code and write Python snippets or code in there, and also build code-based apps if you like. And how do you get started? Well, first thing is you go to this repo. You also see a button down at the bottom of the screen which says start Langflow repo. So that takes you to this GitHub repo. The easiest way that I've seen for people who are on the code side of things, who have played with Python or so, you can just start or make a directory in your computer or anywhere you're running this. Start a virtual environment and then just pip install Langflow, the easiest thing. And then after that, you can run with this command. So once you run, you'll see the Langflow UI. Other aspect I wanted to cover is people who don't have coding background, who just want to get started quickly. You can click on one of these links. So cloning this space, it will open up in Hugging Face, and then you can run the Langflow UI over there as well. Some other folks I've seen, it makes it easy for them to either use Railway or Render. You click on these buttons and it takes to those respective platforms. And over there, you can basically select a few options, and then I think in a minute or so, it will deploy the application. So once you deploy the app, how does that look like? It's basically something along these lines where you have the My Collections screen. So this screen is where you see if you have previous projects, then you see them here. If not, you can create new projects. And each project is where you can drag and drop and build LLM apps, as mentioned before. So I'll quickly go over that. It seems like many people have built these apps in the audience. So just want to kind of go over basics real quick, and then we'll jump on to examples. So the way you drag and drop, on the left side, you see these options. Everything starts with some sort of input. So usually I tend to go with either chat input or text input. And then with this, you can provide some text here, something like hi there. And then what happens is if you run this, you'll see that this is available. It's a check mark. It is available as an output that you can connect with something else. And what I'm going to do is, next step, I'm going to call Groq. And in here, what I did is I took the API key that Hatice showed before, and I just added in here as a variable. So you can add as a variable, or you can just type in the API key. And then once you have that, you can select a model. In this case, I'll just select Llama 3, 8B, and then I'll just connect the text input to the input coming into this block. And with that, if I were to just run this, I'll see that it will send the question that we had or chat we had to the model, and we get certain response back. So now this response is basically back from one of the models that we selected. So once we have this, we can send it out as an output from this particular flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to either select chat output or maybe a text output, and then bring that in. So this is a message, so I can just bring that in as a message. And then with this is very minimal basic flow. Now, the cool things, what I like is that there are a few different options. Once you run this, there is the playground. You can see your input. You can run or ask questions here. You can also call this API. Let me just real quick pull that. Okay. So this is for people who have some coding background, or for folks who are coming from any of the no-code builders like Bubble or Flutterflow or so. You can pretty much take this URL and then call this URL with your particular queries, right? So if you have certain input, then you can add that to chat or tweaks or so. It's also available as a Python API. You can copy paste this code, and then you can just run in any Python application. Not just that, you can run this Python code as is with export of the flow that that you can perform, export the whole flow. Also, there are a couple of other options. You can embed this chat widget. So these are some basics that you can run with. And we also cover some of this in our webinar series. So we did a few of these last weeks. So you can also follow along with some more details in there. Now, wanted to maybe just highlight something real quick. So I built a few basic demos, right, to get started. So one of that is basic prompting. So in addition to what we had in the previous flow, what I did is I just added a prompt in here, a template. And in this template, I'm saying just take the user input, and in addition to that, answer like a pirate, right? So what it does is anything that's in this curly braces, it's going to be a variable, and it allows you to connect something to that variable, and it takes that input from the user. So I said hi there, and then I have the user input going in. And based on that, now if I were to run the whole thing, what I'll see is it will see if it calls. Let me just refresh this real quick. So basically what's going to happen is it will take the user prompt, and from there, okay, let me just actually, yeah, perhaps I'll just refresh that whole thing. So at the end, what's going to happen is it just calls with the prompt template that we provided. So that's one example. As it refreshes, we'll go over that. So now this is basic, right? So some people, you might have worked with agent applications, or you want to call the tools or so. That is also something available in the interface. So again, going back to that example, I'll just run this something, and then we see over here, okay, now we have response. And if I say hi there, it responds back, in the pirate language. Cool. So we can do more things to it, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask to write a blog. And again, taking the prompt, taking some info from URLs. And in here, I'm saying I'm going to take the Langchain website, maybe docs from Langchain, maybe also take the GitHub repo. And what I'm saying is just to write about Langchain, taking the sources provided here. And the prompt template also has some references and instructions that we gave if we were to run. And something, again, if you're using Groq, the speed of things that happen is quite fast. Like I have some trouble, I think, from just the lag that I'm seeing right now with live stream or so. But then at the end, you'll see things will happen real quick. So let me just rerun again, and then it builds. Yeah, if you look at this step, just pretty much just some, less than seconds or so. It even tells you how long it took, or actually 2 seconds in this case. But it tells you that, okay, based on the info you gave, it wrote down and it gave the detailed blog post over here, right? Same thing, I can also look at that in this screen. Okay, so now one step up, I said, okay, how about we just write, not just a blog, how about we just write a full book, right? That is also possible. And since, things are quite fast using Groq, what I did is I took an input of text, said, okay, I want to write a book on LLM Warrior, just random title, right? So with that, I'm saying first step, take the book title, write 5 chapters to it, and then send it to one of the models that's hosted on Groq, and then get some output. So when I run this, what's going to happen is it's going to get some of that. Based on what we asked, it gave us 5 titles. Okay, nice. Now I'm just doing some tricks over here to send each of the list variables to models to write chapter separately. This is the simple way. Now the versions that we have coming out, they also have the for loop capability, if else. So you can combine pretty much all of this into just one block, or not even that, even just the block that we were using before. So go check out some of the latest versions that we got out for Langflow. It's got some cool stuff. So with that, I'm sending each title, chapter name to the Groq model, and then I am asking it to bring all of that text together and then save it as a text file. So just for fun, okay, actually, I'll call this something else. I'll call this book demo, and let's run this. Once we do that, what's going to happen is it will go through all of these steps, make a bunch of calls to the model, and then at the end, it will come back with the list of all of the book chapters. So this is my agent, which write books for me. Okay, so that's done. Now we should have all of that, and it's saved to this file, which I can go check real quick. Now that's the full text. It's quite large. And this just for the 5 chapters. Of course, you can have multiple chapters, or you can say, okay, write for 20 chapters or so, and it will write the full book for you. So again, just to recap, you can start with some basic LLM apps, something like basic prompting. Of course, we all did the chatbot thing, but now if you want to add some additional capabilities, what you could do is you could start with some templates. Those are available here. If you're doing RAG, there's some basic template available here. You can, of course, swap out the models here with Groq if you're using Groq in there. And then you can save it to database, then get some answers from your data set, whatever you'd like to ask from a RAG application. So again, you can build any advanced capabilities. It makes it easy for you to just drag and drop and get things started. Yeah, I think so. With that, I'll pass it back to you, David, if there are any questions.
Yeah, Misbah, actually, I want to put you on the spot. I know that we're focused on Groq and Langchain and everything today. If you wouldn't mind, if you could actually share your screen again and just point out how in models and the vector stores, again, I mentioned way earlier that Langflow is agnostic, right? And there's all of these models, and the way that you can kind of test those and bring those in the picture. So yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, let's look at that. So for example, I had this vector store RAG, right? This is one of the templates available in Langflow. If you were to just start with the template mentioned, and then not just that, any blank canvas, right? You'll see a bunch of options on the left. So for data, for models, you'll see vector stores, right? So there are quite a few options here. You can just either have a self-hosted version, so some of them they offer that. You can have something through an API or something like Pinecone, then you can call that. So a bunch of options available here. Same thing with many other things. So you'll see agent-based things as well. So like tools or some other utilities. So quite a few things. I would say just play around, see what works for you. A lot of it is brought in from Langchain. So if you're familiar with Langchain, what it offers, then you'll see that available here. And in addition to that, we also built something internally. So that, as well as custom components, right? You can always write your own code and run anything that you can do in Python.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll add with the various models that you have, you can also pull in variations on the same model. Like matter of fact, I was working with Groq. There's multiple models that are available, and I wanted to compare them, right? So you can just whip them up right next to each other, compare them in line, use the same API key. Like, it's super simple. It's just so much faster. I mean, I like coding. I code up enough things, but as Misbah is showing you, you can literally just pull it out, pick a different model, hook it right up. You'll need another chat output for that one.
Oh yeah.
So So anyway, I just it's really neat for that kind of flexibility and being able to get your AI development going. Alrighty, so with that, we do have some time here at the end to get at some more of these Q&A questions. There have some that have bubbled up to the top, and thank you, Misbah, by the way. This one's gotten a lot more. Let's see, a lot more scores here. How can I effectively connect an unstructured database to large language model agents to enable efficient querying and data retrieval? And there have been a couple comments in here as well, but I'm curious if Lance or Hatice or Renee, I'm going to put you all on the spot if you guys have any thoughts on these.
Yeah, sure. I'll share a video series here. So I have a RAG from scratch series on YouTube, which I think some folks referenced. This talks about RAG. So that's kind of the first component. I think it was talking about connecting agents with vector stores. So RAG is kind of the technique you can use to connect an LLM to a vector store. There's a lot of tricks for RAG. I shared a video series we did there. It's also on Free Code Camp. I can share a link as well. We have a bunch of, I'll share, I think it's actually our most popular video ever is on building RAG agents with Llama 3. I will share that as well. This actually can use Groq, but in this particular case, it's using Ollama for local. But it shows you how to build an agent that performs RAG with a whole bunch of internal self-corrections. So those are some resources to start with.
Awesome. Thank you, Lance. And, to that, one of the flows that Misbah was showing, the template that's in Langflow, the vector RAG one, it starts, it has, it has the AstroDB vector store, but there are all sorts of others, right? And you can just swap them out, right? So in a case like that, you could also wire them up that way. It's, it's an easy way to construct it, and if you don't want to do it in pure code. Okay, let's see. So the next one here, Lance, this is definitely one for you. How does LangGraph differ from Langchain?
Yeah. So LangGraph is basically a way to build agents. So previously in Langchain, so Langchain is a general purpose open source library for building LLM applications, does many different things. It includes integrations with LLMs like Groq. It includes integrations with vector stores. It feeds up to Langflow. LangGraph is the newest kind of way that we've kind of devised to build more agentic applications. So previously we had this thing called Agent Executor within Langchain, which worked. We found a lot of people wanted more fine-grained control. So LangGraph is a way to build agents that lets you basically lay out your agent as a set of nodes and edges. And I shared that video I shared actually talks a lot about LangGraph. Yeah, I'll share it again just to emphasize it. But basically, it's a really nice newer way to build and deploy. In the next few weeks, you're going to see some stuff related to deploying on LangGraph agents. We've seen a lot of uptake from companies. The main benefit of LangGraph is it can be extremely reliable because you have a lot of control over the flow of your agent. So in that video I recently, let me see I'll share it again. This one shows how to build an agent with local LLMs. So it's reliable enough to build a complex agent with local models that run on your laptop. And LangGraph kind of lets you orchestrate in such a way that's reliable. So I will share that.
Awesome. And I think that actually addresses, there was another one here in the Q&A. Could you please speak to the integration of Langflow and LangGraph? It feels like you probably hit on that. Is there anything more you want to say from that standpoint?
Yeah, maybe Misbah, you can speak to that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, in general, there are plans to actually get some additional integration that is probably going to happen soon. So be on a lookout. So far, in general, if you can write Python code, you can bring in any of that already into Langflow. And any aspect that you notice is not in the UI, you can pretty much just write custom component and write for that. But then soon you'll see some of that integration available within Langflow UI as well. Talking about the LangGraph and actually the Langsmith as well.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. And let's see, we have a couple more. Let's see. So does Langflow still use Langchain under the hood to chain the components and execute the graph? Mostly.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it started, right? So there, I would say, to step back, it is Python based. So anything you can do in Python, again, you can write custom components. You can install any of the library where you're installing the Langflow pip installation, right? So and just have all of that available in Langflow in general, but there is some bias towards the Langchain library. Initial things reported from Langchain library, so you'll see a lot of that. But again, both right? So you'll see a lot of Langchain in there, but also you can bring in anything from the Python world, whatever you would like to bring in.
Yeah, and kind of case in point on that, Misbah and I, we're recently working on some flows, and in particular in one, built-in 11 Labs functionality. If you're not familiar with 11 Labs, right, it's actually super cool. It's more on the voice end where you could say supply it. They either produce and, you can access all sorts of different voices, but then you can also supply your own voice, funny enough, which is what I was doing. You supply it like 5-10 minutes, and it is scarily good at replicating your voice. And so the point of that is that the 11 Lab stuff wasn't based on Langchain or anything. We were able to create a custom component right in Langflow that then interacts with that API, and then we could pipe any of the text coming out from an LLM to one of these voices, right? And I made it like pretty easy. So again, I think yes, it's mostly Langchain still, but it's Python, like Misbah just said. You can kind of create whatever you want, honestly, if you're a Python dev. Let's see. So the next one here, this one got ranked up, is how to deploy Langflow made apps. Now, Misbah, you were showing some of this real quick with the APIs, right? There's a set of options here. I know we do have a little time. Do you want to show that real quick again?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure.
And by the way, while you bring your screen up, I'm going to quickly answer another one, which is Langflow is moving to new version from 0.6 to 1.0. Is it possible still to export LCLAL change from Langflow to the new version? Yeah, I was asking in the background. Yes, that should be supported. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you were to build a flow, then you'll see an option here, a playground, and then API, right? So once you click that, you'll see the options to call API. So something I have built content around before is also how you can connect something like Bubble or Flutterflow or any sort of front-end app to this as an API. So you can just have your Langflow app working as backend API for all of the LLM aspects, and then your app, whatever it is, web app or mobile app or so, it can do all of their things and call this API for the LLM side of things. So once you have this, you have the URL available. If it is on localhost, you'll see something like this. I have another instance of this running on render. And in here, what I can see is if I were to click this API, it is something I can call from anywhere, so this is live on internet. I can call this. And with this, there are a few different options. You can call from a Python based app or from anywhere else. I can go into the tweaks. I can change a few settings. So let's say, for example, instead of calling the model that we initially called, I want to change that to maybe 70B option here. I go back and I'll see that in my tweaks that I can now call that as a parameter. If it is URL, I can add multiple URLs and I can see that option and then bring this over. If you're using something like Postman or so, then you can import curl and it will give you how you can call the API. Hope that answers.
Yeah, and by the way, there's a whole chain of questions in the chat right now about using deployed Langflow along with something like Streamlit. Absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm doing this for my own development as well. And fun enough, you can actually use Groq or like GitHub Copilot, and you can say something like, hey, give it like what Misbah was just showing you. You could say, given this code and given my inputs and outputs, I want you to use Streamlit and modify this to actually generate a basic Streamlit app. And Streamlit is slick, and it's super easy to develop in, and Groq has no problem with producing that kind of code. It was actually super fun just recently to do that. Let's see. So this one at the top, can we request other models not already on the platform? Also for enterprise licensing and cost. Oh, it disappeared. Oh, there it goes. Can we reach out? I think that was a question actually for Groq.
Yeah. So you are able to request. I actually go through these weekly myself. If you join the Discord developer community, the link is on groq.com and console.groq.com. We have a feature request channel that I check and report back to the product team with, depending on the number of upvotes. The reason actually that we put up Llama 3 as the next model after the first ones that we had put up is because we we had run a poll for our developer community, and everyone was really excited for Llama 3 models and that one. So we take you all very seriously. Please submit a feature request either through Discord or through Groq.com and the developer playground. There's a little chat with us button where you can reach out directly to me and my team.
Excellent. Thank you. And, if that question, by the way, is directed at all to the Langflow folks, I would say the Discord is also probably the best place to put that. Misbah, if you happen to have that handy, would you mind dropping that in the chat so folks know where to go? Excellent. Thank you.
Sure, will do.
All right. So the next one here, because we're almost at time. Let's see. Wait. Here. That one, it's so funny. There we go. This is the one I wanted. I cheated there. All right. So how does LangGraph compare to other AI agent libraries? Advantages and main use cases. Lance, I think that's maybe for you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I don't want to put down or compare necessarily against other libraries. I think all libraries have interesting trade-offs, benefits. What I'll say is, I'll be honest, I use Agent Executor and Langchain quite a bit previously. I never found it to work that well. Okay. So that's like me kind of eating my own dog food and saying, look, I didn't find it to work that well. There's a lot of issues with agent reliability. What I found using LangGraph is that you can build very reliable agents because you can very explicitly lay out the steps of the agent rather than relying on tool calling. And actually, if you look at that notebook or the video I shared, it actually is using a local LLM on my laptop to run a relatively complex, multi-step, self-corrective RAG flow, and it just works. So the proof is kind of in the pudding, and we're seeing this with a lot of our customers. LangGraph is just nice, not because it's complicated, but because it's simple. It lets you kind of break out your flow into a set of specific nodes connected by edges, and to break down the steps in a way that you can very easily kind of control the flow through your application. And when you think about most agents, that's kind of what you want. You basically want to use a sequence of tool calls. In LangGraph, you can, of course, implement that like we showed before as an agent or as an LLM that has access to tools, or in LangGraph as a graph with each tool in its own node. So anyway, look at the video because it won't make total sense as I'm saying it right now. But if you look at the video, kind of get intuition for LangGraph is a really nice way to build these things highly reliably because you can lay it out as a specific control flow. And the proof is kind of in the pudding. I've been able to build really complex RAG agents locally that run on my laptop with a 7 billion parameter model. So I think reliability is really the benefit of LangGraph. But of course, I'll let you be the judge, and I'd love to hear feedback and comments on the video. Hit me on Twitter, rLanceMartin as well, if there's questions. But I think reliability is the big one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Maybe
All right.
I'll just
go ahead, man.
something real quick. Yeah, I mean, using agents before and then using LangGraph, it's completely different, right? So LangGraph makes it real easy. And also to folks, if you have been watching Lance's videos on RAG and different things, if you have not, you gotta go check it out. It's really nice, especially the RAG series. So definitely kind of fanboying over here.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. Absolutely.
Awesome. We have a couple of minutes left. I have a couple of questions. This one I will take because it's super easy to answer. Are there plans to allow Langflow to export Langchain code? Well, funny enough, it's there today, right? So in the UI that Misbah was showing you, if you go to any component and click on the component, you'll see there's a little code. You just click on it, you get a little interactive dialog that pops up. And there's a little code button there, a little tab. Click on that. All the code is right there. You can absolutely grab that code and you can pull it right out. Oh, it looks like Misbah is going to show us. Yeah. You can grab that code and you can just pull it right out and you can implement it directly. Go to a component, pull out of the API and then click on a component. Yep. There you go. That one. Right. And then the code and what's cool is these are wholly contained. You could take that as it is, pop that into its own class and you're good to go. Right. So it's super cool. Now that's one way to do it. As he was showing you the API earlier, that's another way to do it. It really depends on your particular needs.
Yeah, and also if you have a custom Python code, you can just drop in one of these blocks, and then you can write any Python code to it. And also to it, maybe we can, real quick, David. So we have a next webinar series, which is going to talk about all of the new features and how you can build scalable apps using Langflow. That's going to happen next Tuesday. So if you are interested, please do join that one as well. I'm going to drop the link to that.
Oh yeah, please do. And by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, down at the bottom, you see that star Langflow repo. If you're interested in following the progress of Langflow, please go star us, right? So you can kind of keep up to date with the things that are going on. I know we are at time. I just want to put everyone on the spot real quick. go around the horn. Were there any say key questions or things that you thought maybe weren't addressed real quick, or something you wanted to say in closing? Misbah, I'll start with you. Totally putting you on the spot there.
No, I think we covered some basics, of course, for the detailed way of doing things. You can follow the webinar series or reach out to us on Discord, and we'll be happy to help over there.
Cool. How about Hatice? You got anything?
Yeah, same with Misbah. I gave a very brief overview. I'm sure there will be questions after this as well. So Discord is the best place to reach us as well. Let us know any questions, future requests. We will be there with an answer.
Excellent. And Lance?
Yeah, we do have a Discord. Twitter is a great place. Often DMs are all open. And really nice to be here. I'm a big fan of Groq. Used it, of course, recently with the Llama 3 notebook, so that's fantastic. And Misbah's work on Langflow is really, really cool. So good to be here and talk to you all.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And we're at time. Thank you, everybody, for your questions and the polls and the interaction. I saw Lance and Hatice and everybody was dropping a bunch of links and materials for all of you. Misbah, I'm going to put you on the spot one last time. So for the questions we didn't get to, we're going to drop those in the Discord, actually, for the Langflow Discord.
Yeah, we'll try to do that. And also we'll try to follow up with some resources via email or so to everyone.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It was awesome seeing everybody here, and take care. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.